Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to talk all things healthy living with Dr. Jill Waggoner. She's a friend and she's a family practice concierge. Her journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
So I've been running this PR firm for 15 years now, and I think somewhere in year 1, I met Dr. Jill Waggoner. She is just amazing. She's a bright light in this world, and she's a friend, and you're a family practice concierge. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I got to brag about Dr. Jill because some doctors speak in doctor speak, but you speak to the common man, and I'm just wondering, have you always been this way? You love people, don't you?
I absolutely love people. I do. I love them. And it's also important to me not to speak in doctor speak because I think that communication is key. So if I am going to help somebody get to wellness, I have to talk to them in language they understand. So
Absolutely.
If they don't understand it, it's no need for me to tell them.
Okay, in medical school, did you know that you had this calling that, just to be relatable and speak to the common man?
I did. I think when you first start, getting into the whole thing of medicine, I have really a story about that really helped me to understand. They tell you things like don't show any emotion, don't cry, don't hug people. And that is just the opposite of what I do. Wow. I find that many people, particularly when they're in crisis, they need you to show your humanity. They need to know that you're a human being. You understand they're a human being. We know you got all the doctor stuff going, but as a human, do you understand that I'm in crisis? And
Yes.
so that's just something that came natural for me.
And you also have a line of products. I want to point out we have some special tea blends here.
I do. I'm pretty excited about that. I have teas and supplements because I think there are so many things that we can do ourselves to help us stay well. There are some people that are talking about medicine 3.0,
Yes.
which is medicine that looks toward the future,
Yes.
which is more you monitoring your health and staying well. And so these supplements and teas are part of that.
Yeah, and it seems like we're just kind of over-caffeinated. We're
Right.
Drinking too much. We're doing a lot of stuff to our body. These help detoxify the body.
Help detoxify. There are some that helps to calm the brain. There are some that, helps you to calm down at night when you're trying to sleep. There are some that have anti-inflammatory properties. And, you always have to say when you're dealing with these, they're not FDA approved.
Sure.
But that's not what we were shooting for. We wanted to give people something that would help them to kind of treat themselves or to help address their issues at home.
Absolutely. And at the end of the show, we're going to pull up her website so you can order right off the website. I want to talk about your speaking career. And as we do that, let's pull up some video. And I want you to kind of narrate this because you're speaking to all kinds of groups,
Yes.
medical groups, church groups.
Right.
Tell us what you feel you're being called to speak about these days.
I speak to so many groups, everything from women's group to children's groups, to senior citizens, to corporate executives. Anybody who wants to know about health and wellness, I'm there to talk to them. I really like a crowd that's engaged and having fun and wants to hear about what I have to say. People who are really interested in becoming well and staying well.
Yes.
I talk about the final decades of your life. What do you want those to look like? Do you want to be strong? Do you want to be weak? What do you want that to look like?
Sure.
And to let you know you have some control over that.
And she's a very humorous speaker. I went through several of your videos and I found this clip. I have to roll it now.
I'm so excited
women that I knew who might be menopausal and asked them, what, pray tell, happens to one when they become... If you're going to have a fantasy, take it all the way. That's what I say. Okay, before I get started, there's a couple of things I want to tell you. One is that in your gift bags, you have a copy of my book, which is a gift to you from Methodist Hospital. Now, let me tell you this too. Now, we're going to give you one, but we cannot give you two. So if you would like to purchase one for your girlfriend who is not here, we will have some in the back for sale. Now the other thing that I have to say is look in the back of the room, there is a handsome fella standing back there. That's my baby.
Hilarious. I want to mention that you are such a prolific writer. You've written 8 books now?
8 books.
Eight
Yes.
books.
Yeah.
And one of them is this one. It's kind of a companion book to her line of teas,
Yes.
Tea for the Soul. Tell us
Yes.
about this.
Well, Tea for the Soul has just little snippets, either scriptures or sayings, or so when you're having your cup of tea, you can have a moment of affirmation. It is a way to pause from the busyness that is life now.
Yeah.
So it's just a reminder, you have a little something you can read for a few minutes and enjoy your tea and then go about your day.
And that's so important because I think anxiety is an epidemic right now. Just
It is.
probably the pandemic fueled it, the uncertainty that we were all kind of thrown into.
Yeah, and I find, so during the pandemic, I did a lot of lives. I went on live, and I say to everybody, I did that because I was so frightened. I was really scared. For one time in medicine, I found myself not knowing where to turn. And so as I looked for information from all over the world, and I found those things out, I wanted to go online and tell people, listen, there are things that you can do. You can take some vitamins. You can, you can do this or that to make sure that you're okay and that you can navigate your way through this. So that helped me to be really calm during that time. So helping people to navigate through the anxiety that's associated with health and wellness is just so important to me.
Sure. And Dr. Jill is wildly popular with the media. We've got a clip from NBC5. I think this was done a few months ago, and it's Vince Sims from NBC5 interviewing you. You like to educate people through the media, don't you?
I do. It's difficult sometimes for people to read a book about health or wellness. People see that as boring. But if you bring it to them in a way that they understand and that they can apply it to their lives, then you get them the information so they understand it's not always medicine per se. It is just a way to live well.
Let's talk about the importance of regular checkups, because I know certainly during the pandemic, a lot of people put off checkups. But there are men, I'm speaking to all men out there, men don't like to go to the doctor because they don't like to hear bad news. And so they'll, do you end up seeing people that, man, you should have seen me a decade ago?
Sure. Actually, I have a gentleman now in my practice who hadn't been to the doctor in 20 plus years.
Wow.
And then had a major health issue that went from one little thing they thought to a catastrophic, thing. And so he's dealing with that. But the good news is I have lots of men that come to my practice. And when they do, the most important thing that I understand that they have that concern. And then I talk to them as though they're human beings and try to be really respectful. I think sometimes men find that they don't necessarily want you calling them by their first name sometimes. They need to be respected. They need you to run on time. So there are a lot of things that I think you have to address for all people, but particularly for men who are uncomfortable in the medical setting. I really try to make sure that we make it more comfortable for them.
And these days with AI and all the the advancements in medicine, if you catch something early enough, almost everything is survivable, isn't it?
It is. We have so much information. Medicine has changed so much, but it's well documented that between discovery of something and verification that it's a fact and it actually showing up in medical practice is about 17 years. So if you don't have a physician that's on top of the latest things,
Right.
it may be a decade or more before you have access to that information. So I think it's important for people to get a doctor who stays on top of it, and I try to be that physician who knows what's coming,
Yes.
down the pipe.
And she has a very popular podcast. We're going to pull up the podcast page and just scroll down it because I love some of the topics you tackle. How do you go about deciding what to talk about?
It depends on a lot of times people will ask me things. They'll say, well, Doc, what about, or I heard about this or that. And then I will address that in the podcast and kind of talk to them about it. And particularly quote unquote natural things. Patients often, and family and friends will ask me, well, what do you think about vitamin C? Or what do you think about garlic? Or what can I really do to help my joints, And so I will find that information. And if I think it's something that is worthy of talking about, I'll talk about it.
Absolutely. And we want to put a shout out for, you have a master class coming up. Is it this Saturday?
It is coming up this Saturday. Yeah, it's on the 30th. And it is a master class about diabetes, but I think it's really important that diabetes is just one of the consequences of too much sugar and too much insulin. We now know that there's type 1, type 2 diabetes, but many people are referring to dementia, Alzheimer's dementia, as type 3 diabetes.
Wow.
Because of the damage that high insulin and high blood sugar does to the brain. So I'm going to talk to people about what that means, what it looks like, what can they really do to try to reverse diabetes.
Wow.
For many, many decades, we said that it was a chronic illness, chronic and progressive. You could never turn it around. Now we know better.
Wow. And they've hidden sugar in just about everything.
Everything.
I mean, you have to look very carefully on the back of that. I think I was eating a yogurt for many months, and I thought it was healthy, and then I turned it around and saw like 30 grams of sugar, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Right?
And that's absolutely crazy. The other thing is people think that if they go to the health food store and they purchase things like, I bought this at the health food store, it's still got 60 grams of sugar in it. And so to bring that home, and the way, we have all kinds of names for sugar, but the effect on the body, if you elevate that blood sugar and it stays elevated, and then you elevate the insulin, that's a problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your success. We've only got about a minute left. Why don't you look right into that camera on the left and talk to the viewer about why they need to go see their doctor?
Very important, first of all, that you have a doctor that you trust and that you can communicate with. And then the second thing is to make sure you go and see them at least annually. And if you have some chronic conditions that you're dealing with, you want to see them every quarter just to make sure that everything's okay.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for sharing your heart and your wisdom with us. We're going to end with her website, which is AskDrJill.net. The great Dr. Jill Waggoner, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.